1 John chapter 3, starting at verse 4. Whosoever commits sin transgresseth also the law. Why? Because sin is the transgression of the law. So if we sin, we transgress the law. Now, notice, that's the same as saying, you could say the same thing in reverse because it's telling you sin is the transgression of the law. So we could also say that if you transgress the law, you sin. So if I lie, I commit sin. If I look on a woman with lust, I commit sin. If I steal, I commit sin. If I break one commandment, I'm guilty of breaking all. If we sin, if we break any of the commandments, we are in sin. There's no way really around it. We are committing sin. So notice, sin is the transgression of the law, and whosoever commits sin transgresses the law. Verse 5, and ye know that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin. Now, he's here to take away our transgression of the law, to take away our sin. Whosoever abides in him sins not. Whosoever sins has not seen him, neither known him. Little children, let no man deceive you. He that does righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. He that commits sin is of the devil, for the devil sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifest, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Notice, he that commits sin is of the devil. This is why Christ came, to destroy the works of the devil. What are the works of the devil? Sin. Christ came to destroy sin from our lives, not to no longer hold our sins against us. Christ never held our sins against us, how some might think. Christ condemns sin in the flesh. And if we are married to the flesh, which is what Romans chapter 7 is about, if we are married to that, we choose to make ourselves one flesh with sin. And in that, we receive the condemnation, because he that believes not is condemned already. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, but he preferred darkness rather than light. That's John 3:19. We're condemned because of refusing the gospel. We're not condemned because we have sin. God understands that. But what we're condemned for is refusing the remedy to save us from the sin. Now, this is really important to understand. The purpose of Christ's coming is to save us from our sins, Matthew 1:21. The purpose of his coming is to destroy the works of the devil, which is sin. Now, this is why in verse 9 of 1 John 3 it says, whosoever is born of God does not commit sin, for his seed remains in him, and he cannot sin because he is born of God. Notice, it's the seed remaining in him. That's what 1 Peter was talking about. That's what Christ was talking about, where he said, you seek to kill me because my word, the incorruptible seed, has no place in you. If the seed abides in us and we are born of the Spirit, then we will not sin. And whosoever commits sin is not born of God, and whosoever is born of God does not commit sin. In this, the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. So if we're free from righteousness, we're not of God. If we are righteous, we are of God. And in this, the children of God are manifest. It's not something that my life, if we recognize that if I have one sin, I'm guilty of all, that makes me a sinner. and just as much a sinner as any other point in my life. And then I'm not any different than any other sinner out there. Correct? I mean, if it's true that if we break one commandment, we break them all, if we're still sinning at all, we're free from righteousness, and we have no righteousness just like we didn't before. And just like any person out there in the world does not have righteousness. So here's the thing. If that's true, then looking at the life of a professed Christian and the life of an unbeliever, if you see no difference, if both lives are totally free from righteousness, how could it be said that in this the children of God are manifest? There has to be a marked difference in our life, and that difference must be total freedom from sin. It can't be sinning less. There's no such thing as sinning less without being sinless. Because if we're still sinning all, we're guilty of all. So we must be made free from sin. Not as a theory, but in practical reality. Now these things should give us courage. Isn't that a wonderful gospel telling us that we don't have to continue on in the bondage of sinning, repenting, sinning, repenting, sinning, repenting. We don't have to continue on in that. Now, this is the gospel of Christ. This is what it means to be born again.